Good morning. Do we have a veteran here? Usually, Jerry Monahan starts off the Pledge of Allegiance, and we have a veteran. We have a veteran here to start us. Come on up. Did you? Come on. We ask you all to stand as we say the Pledge of Allegiance.
Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. All righty. Thank you and welcome everyone for coming. And our steering committee actually has put this together, and we ask for all block captains, please. And if you would like to be a block captain, please see me after the meeting. And if you don't want to be a block captain, that's all right. Just pass along everything that we have done or will do, or if you have any ideas, let us know. But thank you all for coming. Basically, do we have your email? And if not, Stephanie is at the table to collect your email. And we ask you to silence your cell phones. We always start off with the Beaumont Police. Mercedes, anything?
Good morning, everyone. Just wanted to let you know that the Beaumont Police Department has started a partnership with the Riverside County Sheriff on a program called Special Needs Reunification. So this program allows caretakers, spouses, family members of someone who may have developmental disabilities, autism, even dementia or other cognitive disabilities to register them through a program that the sheriff has that we have access to. So if there's any of your neighbors or friends or people that you know of in the community that, may suffer from some issues and they could, maybe get lost or confused, or maybe they suffer with some of those things, provide one of those flyers to them so they can sign up. You put in the person's name, address, some of their physical description. You can upload a photo. You can also indicate what issues they might have, any medications they take, things like that. So if the officers encounter them in the public, they can help get them reunited with their family. Or if they're reported to us as missing or lost, then that helps officers get information immediately to be able to reconnect with their family members. So flyers are in the back, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me and I can give you more information. Okay, thank you. Oh, Anita wants me to introduce the rest of our team here. So we have Sergeant Lunt. He was here a couple weeks ago and spoke to you. He's in charge of our community-oriented policing and problem-solving team. And then we have Officer Navarez, who's also assigned to that team. She is our homeless liaison officer. And in the back there, we have Amanda Santos. She's the community service officer assigned to community relations. So she assists me with all of our community events and things like that.
Thank you. And Mercedes does a wonderful job, and we're just so happy that she comes and she's here all the time for us. Well, we have a great program for you today. We have two presentations. We have the City of Beaumont that's here for the Environmental Compliance Manager, who is Jack Huntsman, and he's going to talk about sewers, and you can see all the little, pamphlets. Make sure you pick up one because on one side it says fog, keep fats, oil, grease out of your drains. And then on the other side, it shows the picture of what you should do. You also he has some door hangers here that say flush trash alert. Make sure you pick those up. There are plenty. And on the back side, it will also show you what's should not go in there. So, Jack, thank you. We also will have Riverside County Transportation Commission to talk about how many of you have been stuck on Highland Springs. Well, they're going to tell you some projects that are in the work to help alleviate some of that. So we'll start off with Jack.
Good morning. Thank you, Anita, for the opportunity to share this information. Again, my name is Jack Huntsman. I work for the City of Beaumont at the Wastewater Department. My specific job title is Environmental Compliance. So prior to coming into the Wastewater Department, I didn't think a whole lot about wastewater. Common sense told me what are things that I should or shouldn't put down the drain, but I just didn't think anything beyond that. So the information that I'm sharing this morning, hopefully it may be something not new to you. Maybe it's just something we didn't think about, but hopefully it'll help in maybe saving some money in sewer costs, help the community that you live in, and definitely help the wastewater treatment system that we have. So the reason for doing presentations like this is because we have to adhere to state and federal regulations to come up with various tasks and enforce them to help prevent sewer problems in our sewer system. Sewer system consists of the wastewater treatment plant, the sewer lines, and the lift stations that we have throughout the city. So there's three different primary areas that I work with. One is commercial. That would be like your restaurants and your auto facility places, anybody that discharges industrial wastewater. The second one would be industrial. That would be like your Duraplastics or CJ Foods or Rudolph Foods, things like that, the larger facilities that discharge industrial wastewater. And then the third aspect of it is residential. Now, residential is a different kind of thing because I can go in and inspect restaurants and how they're discharging. I can go in and inspect industrial facilities and their permits that they are required and their limits that they are limited to in their industrial wastewater. But I can't go into your homes to see what you're putting down the drains, and you wouldn't want me going into your homes to see what you're putting down the drains. So the best thing that I can do is educate. I can do presentations like this. I even had the opportunity to go to Beaumont High School and do a presentation that I'm doing right now to 5 different classes of the culinary class. So that was a great opportunity. So education is the best means to bring up this topic and just make people aware of what effect the discharge that we put down our sinks in our toilets has down at the wastewater treatment plant. As you may or may not know, this is a picture of our wastewater treatment plant. It processes about 4 million gallons of wastewater daily and is treated and returned back into the environment. This was a project, newly completed project that cost about $100 million. So we want to protect that as best we can. My job is to, again, protect what goes into the sewer system and ultimately to protect this wastewater treatment plant. The City of Beaumont currently has about 205 miles of sewer lines. All of those sewer lines, in the whole city here, comes down to this one little area right here where the sewer plant is. Everything from industrial, commercial, and residential discharge down to the sewer plant where it's treated. So who maintains these sewer lines? Well, that would be our collections crew. The 4 guys with the orange vests on are our collections crew, and you may see them out and about in the city streets. in the middle of the street pumping out a manhole or inspecting a line or cammering a line, but they're the ones that maintain this. So they inspect, they clean, they maintain to clear any blockages as they occur and to identify any potential problems that could result in and to prevent things like this. This is what we do not want to see in our city streets. This is a sanitary sewer overflow, and what that is it's untreated wastewater or sewage that backs up into the environment prior to reaching the wastewater treatment facility. So sewer line blockages, they could result from a number of things. It could be mechanical failure at the lift stations. It could be tree roots. It could be a broken sewer line where stuff enters into the sewer pipes and blocks it up and then creates that backup. But for the sake of our conversation today and the purpose of this is there's two things that are significant contributors to sewer line blockages that can be prevented, easily prevented. That would be fats, oils, and grease that we refer to as fog. And then wipes. Anything other than toilet tissue. So it could be baby wipes, facial wipes, sanitary pads. Some of them are even flushable. They're advertised as flushable. And you'll see by the end of this presentation where they really aren't flushable. They really don't disintegrate like toilet paper does. So here's a recent sewer overflow that we had back in October. The picture on the left, you can see that the open manhole is filled to the top with wastewater, backed up. Our collections crew is out there with their Vactor truck. They're pumping it out and trying to identify and locate the blockage. And this is what it looked like. Fortunately, this happened in a vacant field and it did not access a storm drain. Had it would have been much more of a problem, but this one didn't. It was out in the middle of a field. So what caused this backup? Well, our collections crew was able to identify what actually caused the backup and the origin of it, where it came from, the source of it. And this is what caused the backup: fats, oils, and grease. So what happens when warm or hot oils or grease or materials like that is put down the drain? When it cools, it ends up looking like this. And eventually, it sticks to the outer or the walls of the pipe, and eventually the hole gets small enough, as you can see right here, eventually creates the blockage. So the most common sources of fats, oils, and grease generated from residential and food service establishments. Now I know this is we're specifically talking about residential, but I'm bringing in food service establishments because what we do in our kitchens is a smaller version of what restaurants do in their facilities. So the exact same type of materials. So fats from meats and poultries, sauces, gravies, salad dressings, sour cream, yogurt, cheese, mayonnaise, bacon grease, cooking oil, shortening, lard, butter, margarine. You get the idea. This is all stuff that contributes to that last picture of the blockage of the sewer lines. So food service establishments are required to have what's called a grease removal device. There are several different types of them, and I'm going to show you some pictures of them. By inspecting these devices, we get a very clear picture of what kind of materials could have potentially been going down into the drain. We get a good picture of what is going down into the drain, into the sewer system, when they don't have these devices, or similarly in our own kitchens, in our own homes, this type of material is going down to the sewer system. So this particular one here is a in-ground gravity grease interceptor. It has primary compartment, a secondary, and then this tank right here is the sample tank. So when you walk up to a restaurant, you may see something like this in the bushes, in the landscaping, or even in the parking lot. You may walk across these. So your primary tank is going to have the most amount of grease in it. Your secondary tank is going to have grease in it as well, if it's doing its job correctly. But your sample tank should not have any grease in it at all, because from there it goes down into the sewer lines. Again, this is another set of, or another grease interceptor in ground. These are about anywhere from 750 to 2,000 gallons. Primary tank's going to have a certain amount of grease in it, the most amount of grease in it. Secondary tank's going to have less. And your third tank shouldn't have any, but as you can see in this picture right here, we've got floating grease in there, which tells me as the inspector, this grease interceptor needs to be pumped out, because we're getting bypass of fats, oils, and grease into the sample tank. All that stuff is going to just eventually go into the sewer system and end up down at the wastewater treatment plant. So this is just a little side view of how that works. Water comes in here, drops down, all the heavy solids settle at the bottom, the floating grease floats to the top, and then the clear water goes into the next chamber. You're going to have less solids, less floating grease, and then up here you should not have any grease whatsoever. So, I show you that because we all have food service establishments in our own homes that we call kitchens. And yes, we may generate less, but there's more of us. So we educationally need to be mindful of what we are putting down the drain, because it does have an adverse effect in our sewer lines that the guys have to clean and maintain. And I do want to mention that backing up into the 205 miles of sewer lines, they're trying to get on a rotation of every 3 years, completing the whole 205 miles, scoping it with a camera and cleaning it out. So that's their goal right now, is to every 3 years. They'll be doing this throughout the year, but by the time the third year, they'll start back at the original one that they started with. So what else can we do as residents to prevent sewer problems? This is a biggie, flushable wipes. Now I want to state here that I'm not picking on these particular companies, because I have not personally tested these, but they do advertise them as being flushable. So, are these really safe to flush? These photos here are pictures of wipes, rags, anything that accumulates in our sewer system. And you can see the damage that it does to the pumps right there. So this pump had to be pulled out, and all that material had to be taken out of it. So the combination of fats, oils, and grease and flushable wipes creates this. I'm going to show you a short little video clip. This picture here is a picture of what's called a fatberg, like an iceberg, but fats, oils, and grease. And it's a mass of non-biodegradable matter made up of materials such as fats, oils, and grease, flushable wipes, that collects and grows and eventually blocks a sewer system. Now, I do want to state here that this picture here is a picture in Detroit, Michigan. We have nothing near the size of this sewer line here. You can actually walk, and this thing is so large, I don't even know how big it is, but you can actually walk in it. I think the largest that we have may be 36 inches, 40 inches in diameter. So we don't have something this big, but we have the same kind of problems.
Our tale begins in Macomb County, Michigan, at the Clintondale Pump Station.
Before we go inside, I have to warn you, this story is disgusting, and I don't like disgusting. So of course, my wonderful coworkers decided I'd be perfect to cover a story about things that we find in the sewer. This is a sewage pump station, and in 2018 they found something big in a sewer not far from here. Will Glover, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I'm here to meet Macomb County Public Works Commissioner Candace Miller. If there's sewer problems, they're her problems.
Let's just cut to the chase. What is a fatberg?
Well, a fatberg is something that sometimes sewer systems, they're found in the sewer systems. Macomb County found one made up of greases and oils that people have put down their drain rather than disposing of them properly in their garbage. And our particular fatberg was 19 tons, 100 feet long,
100 feet long?
11 feet wide, and 6 foot tall. That was our fatberg.
That's a gigantic clog, and if it gets too big, it can mean raw sewage backs up into basements or gets released into rivers or lakes. The fatberg removal cost $100,000. Its discovery came as Miller's team was looking more closely at what was going on beneath. A few years before Miller became commissioner, an aging sewer pipe collapsed, causing a sinkhole. Part of a major street and a house fell in, repairs costing many tens of millions of dollars. A big story, but the fatberg, that was even bigger.
Okay, good morning, everyone.
With a piece of the fatberg by her side, Commissioner Miller invited the press to come by and see it. The fatberg had its star turned in the fall of 2018.
But as I say, we want to use this as a teachable moment if we can, for folks to try to change people's behavior of what they're putting down the sewers.
What behavior does she want you to change? Well, this is a flushable wipe, and Candace Miller wants you to stop flushing things like this down the drain. Because once this gets in the sewer system, it can form what's called a rag ball. And once oil and grease and dirt and trash get caught up in this, it can start to form a gigantic fatberg.
The wipes were the binding agent for the Macomb County fatberg.
How do you get this stuff out of the sewer or out of the water system?
Well, what you can see here is what we call the rake. And so this thing literally goes down very deep into our wet well here, and it is pulling up these wipes, these rags as we call them. And they dump them right into a bin, right? A trash bin here.
No.
A big dumpster.
Oh my goodness. That is
so
terrible.
we get several of these dumpsters a week at this particular facility, just full of these wipes.
It looks foul, but the smell is diabolical. Most of the fatberg is now in a landfill, but some of it is being studied at Wayne State University's Integrative Biosciences Center, where Tracy Baker looks after it.
So you have an actual piece of the fatberg here in this lab, correct?
That's correct, yes.
And so were you really excited when you found out you were going to be working and studying a fatberg? Were you like, yay?
I was a little maybe timid at first.
Yeah.
Carol Miller had contacted me asking if I would be interested in studying the fatberg. I had to kind of look up what a fatberg was before I made that decision.
Carol Miller, no relation to Candace Miller, was the driving force behind getting the fatberg into the laboratory.
I'm very interested in what goes through our pipes, so when this huge backup occurred in Macomb County, I thought, wow, this is exactly my sort of stuff.
Baker, Miller, and a team of students are getting to know the fatberg up close and personal.
So your hands are in the tank, you're moving stuff around.
So we're just looking to see what we can find in the fatberg. It's mostly plastic and wipes. We found a bunch of tampon applicators, and we can see like sheets like this, which is just wipes, looks like.
Is there anything in these fatbergs that you guys have pulled out that you're like surprised by? Like, I never thought that would be in a sewer, much less here with me now.
Mustard packets. Yeah.
Mustard packets?
Yeah, it just looks like somebody's trash can.
What are we trying to find out?
We're trying to find out what sort of compounds are included in a fatberg. And we want to know a little more about what sort of chemicals are involved in a fatberg and how could those impact us if bypasses occur and the raw sewage goes into the river. And then we drink that water. So what we put into the water eventually comes back into our body.
That you
So
just
we'd
made.
like to know about what's in those pipes.
Yeah, you just made your job exponentially more important when
There
you
you
put
go.
it that way.
We think that it's probably acting as a sponge because the wipes kind of absorb. So I think that
Right.
it could definitely be concentrating chemicals, and then the bacteria, because it's sitting in sewage for a long amount of time, like the bacteria, many different kinds of bacteria, potentially harmful ones, could be accumulating.
So when you're looking at bacteria, is that like a DNA test? Like you're testing the DNA to see which bacteria, to identify the bacteria?
Exactly, yeah. So we take parts of the fatberg and then we're able to do an extraction. We concentrate it and then do an extraction, and then we do DNA sequencing to look at all the different bacteria that are part of it.
It's 23andMe, but for a fatberg.
Exactly.
Okay.
The research also comes back to the biggest issue concerning this fatberg mess. It's these wipes. When they go down the drain, how do they break down?
This is a wipe that said that it was flushable after 48 hours.
I don't think that's going to go through.
I don't think so either.
I'm not the smartest man in the world, but
So you can see that is almost fully intact.
yeah. And this is flushable.
This is a flushable wipe, yep. As you can see, didn't break down. And that's basically what we see for almost all of the wipes that we've been looking at.
And giving the wipes more time doesn't seem to help.
This particular wipe has been in this water for over a year,
A year?
and it looks like you just put it in there a
It
minute
looks
ago.
brand new.
It looks brand new.
There are defenders of flushable wipes, which are a worldwide multi-billion-dollar-a-year industry.
The Responsible Flushing Alliance, yes, it's a real thing. It's an industry group. Says that it's not flushable wipes that's the problem. It's people flushing things like paper towels, feminine hygiene products, and other non-flushable items down the toilet. But the folks specializing in sewage say you shouldn't flush anything but toilet paper. No wipes of any kind, no matter what they say.
You know, if you pick one of those up in the grocery store and it says flushable, and you're using it, you're thinking, oh, flushable, I'm flushing it, right? I'm gonna flush it down the toilet.
Right.
Must be all right, says so right there, you know, on the packaging. Actually, it's a nationwide problem, and even internationally. In fact, London just had to deal with a big fatberg. New York has a big fatberg. They're around, and it's because of all these wipes.
There's no safe sewer system anywhere.
No, and we're doing it to ourselves. I think that Congress should be passing some legislation that outlaws them from packaging with those words on there that they're flushable. They should say non-flushable, non-biodegradable. And other than that, if they just did that, that would be fine.
So as you can see, those create a big problem in our wastewater treatment plant. But I also wanted to mention that they can create a big problem within your own sewer laterals, your own sewer system in your homes. Not sure if anybody knows this or not, but the property owner is responsible for their sewer lateral from your home, from the piping in your home, all the way out to the sewer connection. Now, if that's in the middle of the street, that sewer connection, you're still responsible for that. It doesn't stop at your property line. It stops at the connection of the sewer main. So a lot of people didn't know that or don't know that, but that is what it is. So as you can see, that does create a big mess, not only in your homes, but also in the water treatment system. So just a brief overview of how a sewer system works. Primarily it works off of gravity, where at a higher elevation the wastewater flows downstream to a lower elevation where the wastewater treatment plant is. So, like in Beaumont, we have a topography that has little hills and valleys. So what happens is the water flows down from your residence or a business, flows gravity down to what's called a pump station. We have one down on South Highland Springs down there. And from there, the water collects and is pumped up to the higher elevation where it can then flow back down to the wastewater treatment plant or to another lift station. So at this pump station, everything collects in here just like in those grease interceptors. And periodically, our collections crew has to go in and pump those out. It's a large, like she said in this video, the wet well, that big, large wet well. So here's a picture of a lift station where our collections crew is out pumping out one of those wet wells. And this particular one in an area of Beaumont has to be pumped out every 2 weeks because the amount of fats, oils, and grease, rags, wipes collects. And it's all residential. There's no industrial, there's no commercial flowing into this particular one. So this is Beaumont's version of a fatberg. You can see it looks the same. It's just on a much smaller scale, but if we didn't pump that out, everything would be back up into the residential area. So, what does belong in a sewer system? Good thing to remember, the 3 P's. Pee, poop, and paper, toilet paper. So we'll end with this. This is just a 2-minute little video clip. So that ends that presentation. I know we're pressed for time for the next, we have another presentation right now, but I will be here. If you have any questions or comments or concerns, please let me know afterwards.
Thank you, Jack. We have now anybody that's interested, and I guess all of you are interested in what's going on Highland Springs and some of the projects that will be coming. But remember the 3 P's. So know that flushables are really not flushables. So he's sitting right behind you. City of Beaumont, get started with him. Her question was, when are we going to get a government ruling on that? Are you ready? Sure. Okay, and so here we have the second presentation, and the Highland Springs Interchange team will have a presentation on the project elements and design alternatives for the projects. We also ask for you to, we gave you these surveys, slips. Please, they really want you to fill these out and you can leave them there at the table or just leave them with us, because we need to have these. So, you know, the more that they hear and people actually fill out and say we're concerned, the better it is for them. So, Ariel?
Does this one? Yeah. Good morning. Hi. So thank you, Anita. First, I would like to thank Anita and your HOA for inviting us here today. We're happy to provide information about this project because we know that it's been a pretty hot topic in your community. So we definitely want to give you this opportunity to get information and also to provide your feedback. And I'll show you how to do that soon. But before I start my presentation, or our presentation, I'd like to introduce our team here. My name is Ariel Alcon Tapia, and I'm with the RCTC, or the Riverside County Transportation Public Affairs. We have David Lewis here. He is the RCTC Project Delivery Manager. Darren Johnson, he's also part of the Project Delivery team, and also Albert Lee. He also helps us a lot with the technical parts of this project. So as I mentioned, we're happy to be here today to provide information about this project. Today we're going to be going over the proposed design options, which I think is of most interest to the community of what we're planning to do over there at the I-10 Highland Springs area. The project proposes, basically the gist of the project is that we're proposing to reconfigure the I-10 Highland Springs interchange to improve traffic flow and to improve safety in the area. However, before I start this presentation, I would like to emphasize that unlike other agencies, RCTC does not have land use authority like cities and the county. We do not make decisions about warehouse developments, residential developments, decisions that have been made in the past or made in the future. Today's presentation is mostly focused on this project. There are other projects, we acknowledge there are other projects in the area that Caltrans, the cities of Belmont and Banning are working on. And although we coordinate closely with those agencies on those projects and even the environmental documents and the proposed designs, we don't have details about those projects here today. They have their own set of teams that that might be able to answer those questions about those projects in more detail. But unfortunately, the project team here today has mostly information about the I-10 Highland Springs project. A little bit about RCTC. We are the county's regional transportation agency, and we are the lead on this project. RCTC also provides funding for transit agencies such as Banning, Connect, and Belmont Transit. We work with specialized transit providers. We work on other highway projects around in the county. That is not to say, though, there are other agencies also working on transportation projects such as Caltrans and the cities themselves working on other projects. But again, today's presentation is about the I-10 Highland Springs project. So this project right now, we are in the environmental design early technical studies phase. Right now we're collecting feedback about the proposed designs, and we are also here if we have enough time after the presentation to answer some of your questions about what we have here what we're going to be showing today here on the screen. However, all the verbal comments we're getting here today are not on the record. So if you would like to, if you do have a comment about the project, if you have a preferred design option, please write that down. You could either email us. I have some comment cards in the back where you could provide that information. I'll collect them afterwards, and those will be part of the public record. And I highly suggest that you do write those comments in writing so that we could put them on the record. So a little bit about the project itself. RCTC began working with Caltrans in the cities of Banning and Belmont on the project in 2020. The cities of Banning and Belmont laid the foundation for the project. They saw that there was traffic backing up, as a lot of us have experienced here, and we we know that this interchange is important to the community. We know that it links your homes to businesses, medical facilities, jobs. It's your link out and in the community. So with that, we know that it affects the everyday lives of the community here. A study report was completed in 2021, and it did identify kind of some obvious issues that we're all experiencing when we do drive through the area during peak travel periods. We know that traffic stacks up. There are limited left turn capacities at the ramps, on the on-ramps, and that Joshua Palmer Way intersection creates traffic. And as I mentioned earlier, the goal of this project is to improve traffic flow for both passenger and truck vehicles at the interchange. And with these improvements in place, we most likely will see some safety improvements as well as traffic begins to move through the area. Also, all the alternatives or all the proposed options that we were going to show here later, we also believe that it will improve overall safety for motorists, pedestrians, and cyclists. So right now, we do have funding to finish the current phase of the project, which is the project approval and environmental document phase of the work. Earlier this year, we kicked off our public outreach campaign in advance to the February 27 public information meeting, which was held in Belmont on February 27th. And at that meeting, we got a lot of interest. We had a full house, and we also got a lot of feedback from the community about the design option we presented at the meeting. Our outreach is not done. Yesterday, we made a similar presentation to the PASCOM group of emergency responders, and we're also going to be doing a similar presentation to the Sun Lakes HOA later this month. So we definitely want to get this information out to your communities so that you're informed and so that you could provide informed also feedback back to us. On the screen, you'll see the anticipated schedule for this project. Right now, as you can see, we're working on the engineering and environmental studies. We're holding public meetings. And if we're able to secure funding for the next phase of design and right-of-way acquisitions, which we don't anticipate much, and also construction, we will be able to move forward with this schedule. However, we are still seeking funding for these later phases of the project. So in the next few slides, you will see the four design options. Please note that these design options are not final. They're under consideration. The 5 design options are going to we're going to go into them in detail with David Lewis, who will go over, including the no-build design option.
Thanks, Ariel. Good to see everybody this morning. Hope everybody's doing well. Again, my name is David Lewis. I'm the RCTC Capital Project Manager. I'm primarily responsible for overseeing a team full of engineers and planners that really develop a lot of studies and plans that go into these design options that we're going to talk about here in a minute. There's a no-build alternative which keeps the existing condition as it currently is today. That is a requirement for the environmental process. You have to create like a baseline alternative to evaluate the impacts for the future, and also keep that carried throughout the process. There are 2 hook ramp options, and there are also 2 diverging diamond interchange options. We have a couple exhibits, and we have a traffic flow exhibit that you'll be able to see that we can go in a little bit later. And again, these are all being studied right now and evaluated. No decision has been made, and we're in the very early stages of looking at these options. So here is the option for hook ramp option A. This adds a hook on ramp to the westbound 10 just east of the hotel. So there would be the new westbound 10 on ramp. It also removes the current westbound, the eastbound off ramp, and constructs a new one. It adds another hook on-ramp to the eastbound 10 right here. And these exhibits can be provided after. I know it's probably difficult to see, and we can certainly provide them after the presentation. Let's see, we'll go to the next one. This is hook ramp option B. Really just the primary difference here is that the on-ramp is located at the Apex Avenue junction right there with also the westbound off-ramp traffic. So for example, because you guys are over here, you would be coming northbound on Highland Springs, go right on Joshua Palmer Way, and then hit the I-10 west. This design eliminates all left-hand turn movements. So we understand that that is a big issue here at the interchange. The left-hand turns back up the traffic significantly. So one of the reasonings behind these hook ramps is it distributes the left-hand turn traffic more on Joshua Palmer Way. Let's see, yeah, that's so, and then I'll go back to this one too, it's the same way. So you would come up Highland Springs, go right, and then on the westbound I-10. And then just again, the primary difference is that's located at the Apex junction right there. The westbound remains the same. There'll be a traffic flow diagram too next, I think, that goes through it. Yeah, okay. And Ariel, do I just hit play on that? Okay. Okay, good, okay. So if you can kind of see, if you follow the arrows to where you think you would like to go, it kind of helps you better understand the traffic flow for the hook ramps. This does offer more options to enter the 10, like I said, it removes all left-hand turns, and there are merging lanes on the I-10 to allow for more room to enter and exit. So I'll play that one more time. Okay, so this is the alternative 3, the short diverging diamond interchange option. In this DDI, drivers would travel on Highland Springs Avenue under the I-10 by crossing to the other side of the street and then returning to the right side once through the interchange. For this DDI, the crossovers are near the on and off ramps. And why are we considering this design, you might ask? And this is a very good option for heavy left-hand turn movements for interchanges. These are becoming a lot more popular across the United States and even in California. And this locally, there's one in off the, was it the 215 there? The 215 in University. So even Caltrans is becoming more receptive to these type of designs. They also work really well in tight infrastructure spaces. One of the reasons we don't want to expand Highland Springs is because it would blow out the overpass for the I-10. It would require reconstruction of that and would completely blow the project budget. We're trying to build a project that is within reason and with the budget that can be constructed. Sometimes these projects balloon out of cost and they never see the light of day. You'll see the traffic flow of these DDIs in a second. And so here is the alternative 4. It's technically the long DDI. The only difference you'll see is this crossover is after the UP tracks, the UP undercrossing. So there's a longer crossover queue, and there's just some significant challenges with this DDI compared to the other one, but we feel it's still an option that we could carry forward. So this is a show of video here of how the traffic flow at the Highland Springs interchange would work with the DDI. And I think, Ariel, do I just hit? Yeah, okay. Give it a second. You'll see some arrows kind of flow. There we go. And you'll pay attention. You cross over, the red crosses over again to north to Highland Springs. So if you wanted to go 10 west from Highland Springs north, you would cross over and then you would just make an immediate left right there. See where the blue is? So understanding this is new concept to this area. There is a huge and significant component of public outreach when we ever get to the point of getting to a point of construction and unleashing it for operations. There's a huge public awareness campaign that would go into this. It's a new concept to this area, and we understand that there's a lot of educational aspects that would need to be, integrated into the communities here. So, again, I can do that one more time. Sorry. I don't know if you want me to do it one more time, but I think it's helpful to see. So if you're coming from Highland Springs North and you want to go 10 east, that's a pretty simple movement right there. And then obviously the cars would be stopped at each direction. They're not going to be crisscrossing. So they're not going to be moving the other way. Okay. And so this is just another video, not of Highland Springs, but one that our team has put together based on another project in the country. Like I said, they're becoming more popular in places like Utah, Tennessee, Washington, and Colorado. This is from the driver's perspective. Thought it would be kind of helpful to see what it would look like. Ariel's going to go back and talk about the public feedback, but we're here to answer questions. I know you probably have some, so we're happy to help address them as many as I can. Like I said, we're really early in the process. We're looking at these 4 alternatives, and they will be available for public review and comment. All of our studies will be disclosed to groups like you, Sun Lakes, members of Banning and Beaumont. You'll be able to see all the analysis in the reports. You'll be able to see the recommendations that our team makes, and you'll be able to see what the preferred alternative will be when we get to that point. So, but it is a very important process for the public participation. I encourage you to be part of that process. Comment today. Also comment on when the environmental document gets released. I think it's later next year. So we'll be in contact with Anita and give you all the updated information when it becomes available. But are we ready to take some questions? Okay.
So we do have the website is rctc.org Highland Springs, and on that website we do have all the 4 proposed options there in detail. And also on our website you will see the other exhibits that were posted at the February 27 public information meeting. So everything's posted on there. And if you want to also provide that comment, if you do have a preference over a certain option, let us know. Email us, send us or fill out that public comment card, or again, you could do it also through U.S. mail. But we highly value your feedback on this project. The more feedback we get, the better it is for the community to justify why they chose a certain option or which preference is preferred. So again, we also are on social media. We actually recently started posting to Nextdoor. I'm not sure if anybody's seen our Nextdoor postings, but we're also active on that. I know this community is actually pretty active on there because I saw a few folks liking our posts. So thank you for that. But Anita, do we have time for questions?
Yes, any questions here?
Okay.
It appears that you've concentrated only on Highland Springs. What about taking Potrero Road over to 79 and First Street over east to the 6 or back to the 10 instead of the pile up you're getting here is because nobody has any place else that they can go.
Okay. Yeah, I understand your frustrations. The traffic study that we put together that feeds into what alternatives we are looking at, looks at a wide range, I think a mile or half mile of other intersections and traffic volumes. This project, like we talked about, is solely focused on this interchange. You know, there could be potential to synchronize, you know, stoplights, but you know, those are more projects probably for the city. But unfortunately, you know, this is just a project for the interchange that we're trying to improve the conditions at. So hopefully, maybe if these conditions improve, maybe that'll alleviate some congestion at those other interchanges and intersections.
Yeah, and I can shed some light on a few of the projects that you mentioned. So, per our general plan, which is kind of the guiding document for the city, the circulation element does call ultimately for Potrero to be extended all the way to Potrero on the off the 60, the same interchange. So that is an extended year project that is currently unfunded. It is not being planned, but long term, we expect Potrero to extend all the way through town to the west end and the 60. First Street, if you're speaking the extension of Sun Lakes, which I think you are, so that is currently a Banning jurisdiction, but you know, we work actively with Banning. I know their public works director fairly well, and they have are currently finishing engineering to extend it to Sun Lakes. There are some challenges. There's a Kinder Morgan fuel line that they've had some challenges with, but their goal at this time is to have Sun Lakes extended and constructed by the time that the Highland Springs interchange begins construction.
There was another question. Who had their hand up?
Yeah, they kind of answered it.
Okay. All right, they answered it. Any other questions?
Are there cost differences between the two basic design differences?
Great question. Yeah, there are. The DDI is cheaper. It's probably ranges from 22 to 25 million to construction costs. The hook ramps are, I think they're around 35 or 40 million dollars. So they're a little bit more expensive. More concrete, more pavement, more right of way. So yeah, great question though. It's factored into the decision. And that's why we didn't want to blow out Highland Springs, reconstruct the overpass. That would be over $100 million. Yeah, go ahead.
Excuse me. Hold on, so everybody can hear.
I was trying to speak up, thank you. I just wondered, I know the construction phase, you're looking at 2027. That's the earliest. So how long do you think it would take once you begin that process? Is there any way, it may depend on which alternative, but are we looking at probably 6 months, a year, whatever?
Darren, I think we're looking at probably 2-year construction timeline. Anything less than that, I wouldn't feel comfortable saying that. Even 2 years is probably about the quickest you could probably get anything done and completed. Just as Jeff mentioned yesterday, we're seeing things that took 18 months now take up to 2.5 to 3 years. These projects involve a lot of coordination with Caltrans, our state partners. We're making, you know, improvements to their facility. It is quite the process to get things approved at that agency. That's why we hire a lot of people to help us, but it is challenging. But, you know, I think that this project is very needed. It's very wanted. The community shows a lot of interest in it. There's obviously a big issue there. This area keeps booming and growing, and something needs to be done. So I know funding has not been secured for the final phases, but we're actively working on that. And we're hopefully that we'll see some state and federal dollars come in to help. So the cities have been funding this all primarily through TUMF, and it's time, and in my opinion, that some other people step up. So.
Yeah, I just wondered, okay, did you estimate which one is better for the amount of traffic?
We're in that process right now, sir. We are collecting all the volumes of existing traffic. We are plugging in the design options based on the current volumes, the future anticipated volumes in the next 20 and 40 years. So all of that goes into the traffic report and the environmental document that gets released. You'll be able to see which alternative actually operates better.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
There is a contemplated warehouse in Banning, and obviously you should know about that, across from Sun Lakes, and that will put tons of trucks on. It's currently being fought. I mean, is this something you're aware of?
I am not like personally aware of that warehouse and the issues that arise, but I do know that it is a big issue out here and in Riverside County.
Yeah, but it's right at Sun Lakes Boulevard and Highland Springs.
Yeah, our reports will take that into consideration.
Maybe Jeff can give us some information on how they can alleviate some of that traffic off of Pennsylvania as well.
Yeah, so, obviously this project's going to take a while to come online. So we're trying to look at things that we can do to sort of bridge the gap, knowing that these larger improvements are needed. So currently, as you see, the Pennsylvania widening's underway. That's expected to be complete by the end of this year. We have finished the environmental and engineering design for the extension of 2nd Street, which will extend 2nd from essentially Home Depot all the way to Pennsylvania. We also have a grade separation for Pennsylvania Avenue that is currently under final engineering and expected to be complete within about a year. So there are several other projects in the works that will, help to mitigate some of this congestion. As we get further along in the Pennsylvania grade separation, we're also hopeful to resume the completion of the Pennsylvania interchange, which is obviously, a half interchange. So we would add an eastbound off-ramp and a westbound on-ramp.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? All right, we still have Jack here. Do you have any questions about fog and burgers? Oh, Bergs, not burgers.
No, I have a question. When I first moved here, the previous owner told me, make sure you use single-ply toilet paper. When I first moved here, the previous owner told me to make sure I use single-ply toilet paper. Is that a thing? I mean, that's what I buy, but is that, what's the difference? It's called single-ply toilet paper as opposed to, the real soft 3-ply, whatever, toilet paper.
Toilet tissue is designed to break up pretty quickly.
So does it really matter?
Yeah, whether it's double ply or single
Yeah,
ply.
okay. He said to make sure and use single ply.
Pretty much breaks up.
Oh, it does?
quickly.
Oh, okay.
It's just those wipes.
Okay.
Okay.
I enjoyed that presentation. It was very interesting. I had no idea that those things that are said flushable aren't, so this is news. Amazing. But what my question is you have all that grease and oil and fats, and where does that go? And does that break down anywhere? And doesn't it eventually get into the water system somehow through the soil?
Well, whatever gets down into the wastewater treatment plant is processed. So there's a whole system, whole chemical system where it breaks down a lot of bacteria, good bacteria that breaks down a lot of that stuff. So once and if you ever have the opportunity to do a tour at the wastewater treatment plant, it's fascinating. Wouldn't think so, but it really is. The design and the engineering and what it takes to get water to be able to be discharged back into the environment is extremely clean. So it's a very interesting tour. If you ever have a desire to do that, we can obviously arrange something for a group. But yeah, fats, oils, and grease is a problem, and not only in your sewer lines, your laterals, in the sewer system throughout the street, and at the wastewater treatment plant. So as much as we can keep out of that, and this is also a good idea, I would avoid using your garbage disposal as much as you can, because they're actually not, in the city of Beaumont, garbage disposals are not allowed in restaurants or any industrial or commercial facility. There's a reason for that, is because that stuff it would be better to put it in a organic container or throw it away, but it's basically asking you to put food down the drain. There's no law that you can't use it, but it would help.
Okay, thank you guys, and thank you all for coming. And I know now that you have a lot of information to think about, and be sure you fill out the survey. Also, Mercedes had to leave the police, and they have some cards on the table. If you haven't signed in, please do so. I would like for all of the presenters to come up front because what we do for this is also taped, but on video, but we also have a picture that we take to put into the breeze. So next month will be CAL FIRE. CAL FIRE is coming in next month because that's we're getting into the warm season, and with all the rain, they're going to tell us about what to do. On May the 25th, this California Highway Patrol is going to be here to do one of the safe driving classes that they did before. So look for the flyers, and we are going to also have, maybe we'll have Caltrans back and have a combined issue with Caltrans, the City of Beaumont, Riverside County, and just to see what we can do, and if there's anything, and that probably will not be until July or so, to see if there's anything to mitigate the problem that we have here on Highland Springs, and then the city will be able to update us on taking some of the traffic back up away from this place here. So, thank you so very much, and we will see you next month, second Wednesday. Tell everybody to come, and thank you for coming.